Hi, everybody, and welcome to Global Badass Goddess. And I'm Glenda. Today, we are speaking with Tiffany Friedman, chef and owner of Butterroot. They're based out of Sonoma. Tiffany has been featured on Food Network Kitchen and a winner of Cutthroat Kitchen. Also, Sears Chef Challenge on season 3, episode 4. She's a winner of Nomiku Sous I'm not going to move this right. Sous Vide. I did that right. Sous Vide Challenge. She's also had articles in San Francisco Examiner, Farm Dinner article, Edible Marin, and Wine Country. I feel like what makes Tiffany extraordinary is that she has an eye on the environment, beauty, and health when it comes to her food and craft. Her art form is holistic in nature and sustainable in application. Tiffany grew up in New York City. Her interest in culinary arts started when she was 16. Her father owned an eatery in the village called Melrose. And welcome, Tiffany. Thanks for joining us. Hi. So to start us off, I'd love to, can you just give us a snapshot of New York and what it was like growing up there and how did you start to get into this? I know you said your dad had his own restaurant, so share some more with us.
He did. So honestly, I can go back even farther than 16. I grew up in New York. I was born in Manhattan, and my parents split when I was pretty young, but I still had a connection with my dad and lived mostly with my mom and my sister in Brooklyn. Yeah. And we actually were alone a lot because it was the 70s. And I think all kids were pretty much alone. So we used to experiment a lot with like weird dishes and creating weird foods with our friends. Like even back then, I mean, we didn't have, iPads, computers, so we had to get creative. But yes, really my professional food journey kind of began at 16. Just to backtrack, my parents separated young and my mom remarried, and that's how I came to California. And that happened when I was 9. But I went back to New York when I was 16, and that's where when my dad had opened his restaurant Melrose with Chef Richard Krause, who was from Spago in LA, and he came out and they did this awesome little eatery, kind of speakeasy style, like down some stairs underground. Pretty sure Thomas Keller had a spot next door at the time. It was on Barrow Street. And a lot of really cool places just around there. There was Kenny Shopson had a place called Shopson's, and that's a story. I actually think there's a documentary on that place. It was crazy.
Wow.
But so I was sort of thrown into an environment like pretty quickly, living with my dad, of being at the restaurant all the time. The kitchen was in between 2 dining spaces, so customers would literally have to walk through the kitchen. So you'd come down some stairs, and there was like a dining room, and then the kitchen, and then a back dining room it was the 80s, so there was all like these crazy little lights and pink and all kinds of, the super 80s. But the cool thing is like you'd see people like Madonna in there, or
wow.
like just Richard Gere, like famous actors and actresses, and it was this little hot spot. So I was there all the time, and I just was instantly drawn to the kitchen. A lot of crazy people in there, and they were like, "You can plate desserts." So I would help plate desserts and just hang out, and I don't know, just the energy of it was really exciting, and I took to it right away. My dad at the time, my dad had AIDS, and he at the time was kind of sick. So I was sort of like helping take care of him, and then we'd hang out there. And then also in that same year, we took a really amazing trip to Moscow with Pay-Per-View TV to do like this. They were doing the first rock concert ever. It was had to be 1989.
Wow.
So we traveled there, and I got to experience not a lot of great food at the time, because there really wasn't any, but it was still pretty locked down. But we got to see a lot of cool rock and roll stuff, and then came back. ended up coming back to California, and I did a short stage with Tracy Desjardins when she had Rubicon in San Francisco. And my dad was like, if you want to get into this, go talk to Tracy. He knew her and was like, you know, figure it out.
Wow.
I went, and I wasn't exactly ready for that 100%. I knew I wanted to do it, but I needed to learn a little bit more, and I didn't want to go to culinary school because it felt pretty expensive, and I really felt like everyone was telling me, you don't need to go to culinary school, just work. So I got into catering, you know, working with catering companies and figuring that out from there.
So were you did you kind of jump in and start designing your own creations? Were you doing that too, or?
I was really focused on kind of learning like technique and skill at the time, because just knife skill, like basic, you know, blanching vegetables, knife skills,
right?
Really important to learn, like spices and seasoning. And so I was working with a girl, Rochelle Boucher, who is amazing and still a very close friend of mine. And we still work together. We just came back from Palm Springs a few months ago doing an event for Monogram and at the Kirk Douglas estate, which was pretty fun.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. I was like, this place is so cool. So I really knew I needed to learn, like I needed to just learn, you know? I mean, sure, I love to cook and I love food, and I've always been passionate about food my whole life. As far back as I was little, like traveling to Greece when I was 5 with my mom, like I had my eggs cooked in olive oil. So I still cook my eggs in olive oil,
Me too.
to this day, right? Like
yes.
I learned that in Greece at 5, and that stuck. So, you know, just certain smells and flavors, like I will always just keep with me. So catering and line cooking, you know, I worked at Plum Jack in Squaw Valley. Later, I moved up to Lake Tahoe to do some snowboarding. I had gone back to New York in between there to work with my dad. He was working at the Supper Club in Manhattan on 47th Street, which was a huge space, and it hosted a lot of events.
Super famous.
Rock bands. Bands. It was a huge building, and you could eat dinner, and then you could have music and whatever, nightclubs after a certain hour. So I was there. Anthony Bourdain was sous chef. John Teaser was the chef, also and a lot of really cool people in that building. I was not working in the kitchen. I was actually working in the coat check room, but was in the kitchen a lot, of course, like hanging out. What's going on? What are you guys making? You know.
Totally.
What's happening here?
I can see. How old were you then? I
was 20.
Okay.
I think I was like 20. It was in the early 90s. Because I had my 21st birthday, and they made me, at the Supper Club, they made me lobster and mangoes. Tony brought it down. I remember it was like, so I was like, I want like sliced up.
Nice.
They're like, okay, whatever.
Oh, that's so awesome. Wow. So, you know, in your career, as you've gone on, and now, you know, you're more established now, and you have, you know, Butterroot and everything. Yeah. What do you feel like your primary challenges have been, like, and what were they? When you actually got, like, when you first started and then down the road, were they different? And what were those challenges for you?
I think in the beginning, a lot of the challenges were, you know, like when I was line cooking in restaurant kitchens, was sure I was working with a lot of nice people, but it was mostly men. And there was a lot of course, sexual harassment, you know, everything you hear about. There was a lot more angry chefs. Like, right, I think in kitchens now, you don't have as much as that angry chef thing going on as you did back in the day. There's a lot more of like a militant kind of environment, which I get. You know, you want that. It was definitely abusive all the time. A lot of drugs, you know, a lot of drinking,
Wow.
a lot of sexual harassment.
Wow.
I mean, you name it, it's there. It's cooking, line cooking, restaurant work is such a high stress environment that it's long hours. It's incredibly stressful. You know, there's so much involved that goes into just one plate of food and it getting to your table. I mean,
Amazing.
I'm talking about like Michelin restaurants and working for chefs that are, you know, pretty intense. But that is it's very stressful. I mean, I don't think I could do it now today.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd go home. I'd go home and have nightmares like all night about not having enough, you know, mise en place prepped out, or,
oh my God,
you know, overcooking French fries or the mussels or, you know, whatever was on my station. I mean, it was like you'd go to work, you'd stress out there, and then you'd get home and you'd stress out
there. Oh my
right.
God.
So after about 5 years of that, I got offered a private chef job. Pretty young. I was like 26 maybe.
Yeah.
And that was in Tiburon, down in the Bay Area.
Okay. For like a private person,
for a
party.
family. Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know,
probably
for a wealthy
paid better.
family.
Probably paid better.
It paid great, and I wanted to do it. I knew, like, for me, I'm super social.
Yeah.
Like, that's just my personality, and a lot of that in line cooking and restaurant environment doesn't always fly.
Right.
You know, they kind of like, shut up, put your head down and get to work, you know.
Yeah.
So as good as I was at that, I still wanted to like socialize, and a lot of people can't. They can't manage both of those things. It doesn't really work.
Yeah. 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 Wow.
So private chef work was so good for me. It was so perfect for me. I could socialize, I could cook, and I could make more money and work less hours. I mean,
there you go. And you have to go to bed stressing, sleeping and dreaming. And
I'm not one of those chefs that has this ego of like, well, if you're not in a restaurant, you're not a real chef. Like, that's kind of a thing. Like, private chefs aren't real chefs, you know, or.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of like weird.
Yeah.
Stuff that goes on there mentally.
Yeah. That's crazy. So how do you define success? Like, what do you feel like success is for you, and how did you come to that?
I feel like success comes in like it's many levels, and I don't feel like there's one plateau that you get to. I mean, not for me with cooking, and it's constantly evolving and it's constantly changing. And because I don't own one building and one restaurant that I'm going to every day and feeding the same people and getting Michelin stars, and, you know, those are sort of things that people get. I have to find success in other ways. So whether that be, I mean, I did a year of winemaking school because I wanted to learn more about wine and farming grapes. Then I helped work on a rabbit farm for a little while. I helped, you know, I try to like give myself different pieces of the puzzle, you know, farming, wine. Now I'm going to be learning some fishing. I got into hunting about 3 years ago. After learning a lot more about farming, and so now
I think that's really amazing, because you really understand ground up on like how this whole process is. It's like, to me, I feel like that is the taste that I want to go have experiences would be with you, because you understand that whole process, even down to like, no, I caught that. Like, no, I know how that is caught, you know, and I know the flavors and the herbs and the, you know, the things that would bring out the flavor in that food.
Like knowing what your animal's eating, whether it's wild or farmed, or like each property you hunt, they're eating different things, or, you know, every animal's different. I mean, farmed animals, you know, it's rough. I mean, I'm definitely not a vegan, but I can understand, like, my ex-husband's a vegan. I can understand, like, his thinking and philosophy. It's not for me because I like butter and cheese and some meat and fish and things. Yeah. But I understand not wanting to support, like, really big farms. It's difficult to see what goes on, you have to really be able to stomach what you're looking at, everything down from how they're raised to when they're slaughtered and processed. And I think a lot of people just turn a blind eye to that because they're busy. They don't want to think about it. They just want to eat.
Sure.
And I get it. That's fair enough. But, that also causes a lot of environmental issues.
Yep.
Being in that kind of a hurry,
Yeah, exactly. And your own personal health and your own, it's like you are what you eat. That is so real, and it's like, and food is medicine. So I agree with you 100%. And I think if we went back more to seasonal and local, I think we would be healthier and we would put less pressure on the environment,
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of issues. I mean, we live in California, so we're really lucky.
Basket. I know, right?
We're able to grow things in our backyards, or we're able to get things at the farmers market. There's a lot of places still in the United States where, sure, that's all doable, but the education and the thinking's not there. And you have stores like Walmart and places where people are buying groceries, and you're like, okay, sure, but and they think, well, it's cheaper. Well, actually, it's really not. I mean, in some ways, maybe it is, but it's not cheaper if you're spending all your money on doctors because your health is bad. And I mean, you have to weigh it out. So there's a lot of really cool companies, which I think, when we were at that thing where I met you, that we saw, like people doing urban farming, small farms, and people getting more into that, which hopefully will take off, and you can have a small garden on your patio. Maybe you have time to do that.
And I do.
Right.
So for kind of using that, what's your vision? What's your vision for you in the world, the world of cooking? Like, what's your vision?
Well, for me, I definitely just keep learning, keep going, keep learning, keep understanding, farming, like regenerative, sustainable, like all these words you hear, organic, that people throw around that are on labels and packages, like just really understanding where it's all coming from, like where your food's coming from, where it's going, how it's processed. Like I said, it's hard for most people to have time. So for me, if I can sort of be that bridge and help people understand when I'm feeding them, I get a lot of people that come in from out of town, hire me to cook them dinner in their rental homes. And that's the opportunity, this was grown down the street, everything on your plate. And that's exciting for people to understand that they're getting that kind of, service and that kind of food.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess education is pretty important for me.
Yeah.
Also figuring out, I mean, there, now that I hunt, I'm a pretty open, liberal human being. And I feel sometimes in the middle of this, hunters have this image, of being super far right and very conservative. And maybe there are some of those. And then the super liberal friends are like, you hunt? Like, and, I feel always like stuck in the middle of this, like, well, I'm just learning. And of this balance of like, well, who's a better conservationist and who knows more about the environment? And guess what, guys? You both do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both sides do.
Absolutely.
So I kind of like being in the middle of that and sort of going back and forth and being able to say, hey, you guys are all saying the same shit. Oh, excuse my French, but
That's okay. Yeah.
So I like that there's that bridge.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's amazing. I think it's important I think this is a reflection actually of what's happening right now. It's important. It should not be bipartisan. It should be bipartisan, right? It's the same with, it shouldn't be like, well, I'm conservative, or I'm a liberal, I do realize that there are things that each group believes in, but at the end of the day, we're all human and we need to sustain our life. And hopefully your education and the way you're doing it, I believe, is, uplifting people and creating an environment of understanding, like because of all the things that you're learning, you really bring that to the table. So I think that's super powerful, and that's badass. Okay. Yes. Exactly.
Right.
Let's see. I have some more questions for you. First of all, I want to know, what's your favorite recipe and why?
Oh God, do I have to have a favorite?
Okay. How about this week?
I probably don't have a favorite, but I will say that everything is so seasonal for me. And like I said, food memories. So, like right now it's salmon season. So yay. I mean, I'm great with just like a cedar plank salmon, but then again, I love a good duck. So it's hard for me. I really get just going to the market still is like exciting for me when new things come in on the season. Oh, look, it's those radishes are back, or that corn is here, or those peaches from that one farm that I love. And, right now it's stone fruit salad season. And, so I get excited about a lot of recipes. I do there are certain times of the year where I gravitate towards like heritage, like Jewish, because I'm Jewish. So I'll be like, I just want to make a brisket, or a matzo ball soup and just hang out with that.
My favorite.
Right. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Just kind of it depends.
Is there like a farm that you go to that you like get eggs and meat and that type of thing? Is there something in this area for that?
There's a lot of farms. I mean,
really?
So you can, in the Bay Area, there's tons.
Yeah.
In Petaluma, there's Green String Farm, which you can get meat and local meat and, produce at. I live in Sonoma County, and we have Oliver's Market, which I feel very fortunate to have, because Oliver's uses Feed Sonoma, which is a company that takes from all the local farms in Sonoma and delivers to restaurants and markets. So, yeah, I could go to the farmer's market. I can go direct to the farms. A lot of times you can do that. But I can also go to Oliver's and I can get local ingredients. I do go direct for duck to Liberty Farms, which is the all-time best, Sonoma Poultry. They have the best ducks ever. So if anybody's looking for duck, you should order from them. My good friend Carrie Richards has Richards grass-fed beef. She's not in Sonoma County, but she's up by the Yuba River. And
you can order that. You just get online and order that.
You can get online and just order it. Right now, you can just pretty much order anything, because so many restaurants are not at capacity or going out of business right now. A lot of the small farms are struggling, so it's a really important time to keep them going.
Exactly.
In order.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. When we were in back in Boston area, it was so fun because, every week we'd go to the local farm there and buy free range eggs, grass fed, not grass fed, but like free range, and oh my God, the eggs were so amazing. They were big and yellow, like, because they were eating bugs, so good. I was just like, I'm so spoiled now. So I had some beautiful eggs from one of the vineyards that I pig hunt on. They give me eggs because they're also a biodynamic vineyard, organic, and we're feeding the chickens pumpkins, and the eggs that I got from that week, they were like bright orange yolks. Oh my God. Like almost red. It was so cool. I was wow. I want to go there. I want to buy my eggs there. They're just awesome. They just have the eggs and they give them to all the, the workers, the farm work. Everybody just has eggs, and they grow a bunch of produce too. They're awesome. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Okay, first of all, I want to know your mentor. Is there anybody that's like a figure that inspires you, that has really taught you something, or? I have a lot. I mean, I have my friend Rochelle, who I was telling you about, Rochelle Boucher. Yeah. She was definitely a mentoring force for me. My dad, absolutely. Oh. Yeah, he totally was. I mean, he really just, he sparked that, you can do this, you can be a chef, you can do whatever. There's so many incredible chefs. So was he a chef too, or was he just owned a restaurant? Not. Okay. No, he was like really actually a marketing guy. He started out
working in rock and roll when we were kids. He was in the fashion business before that, working with Betsy Johnson, and then went into rock and roll and helped manage like Kiss, Village People. He started the Kiss Army. So he was the merchandising guy. Like, he was the guy you went to. And
awesome.
He got into restaurants a little bit later, and you know, he rocked everything he did. So
of course.
He's just good at it. He's a mover and a shaker, you know.
Yeah.
Lee Friedman.
Is he still with us?
No, he passed away about 13 years ago.
Okay.
It's like right after 9/11.
Oh wow.
It's a little bit after that. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad that he had you and brought in some pretty powerful stuff through the years. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Thanks.
So if you were to speak to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now?
Well, what would I give myself? I think the same advice I'd give myself today. I don't know. I mean, about cooking or just in general?
Sure, just in general, like whatever it is. What kind of advice?
Always trust your instincts and yourself at all costs, always, because you're probably right every time. I hate to say it. Don't doubt yourself. You know, just if I could just remember that, and things will happen. You know, things happen as they're meant to, and just trust the process, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, don't force anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What do they say? Get in your lane and stay there.
Yeah. Totally.
So I guess, you know, we're gonna wind this up, and I really appreciate you taking the time to like share with us, you know, you as a woman out there, you know, just really embracing your passion and who you are, who you say you are, who you want to be, and just really creating this well-rounded, gorgeous being of yourself and how you do food and how you share food with others. So I just want to say thank you. It's really awesome. And
thank you.
You're welcome. And is there anything that you'd like to leave us with, like a quote, or just to the goddesses out there that may be struggling?
Well, I mean, I just want to say, like, don't overthink food. Keep it simple. Stay positive when you're eating, and, you know, love your body, of course, because women, we tend to not. And don't worry about, you know, if you're in a hurry, if you slam a donut, it's okay. We all do it. But, you know, try to balance it with good foods and be responsible about eating in the environment, and eat like you mean it, you know, always.
Yeah.
Just eat.
Beautiful.
Food is wonderful.
Yes, I love it, and I adore you. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to be with us again. And we can see all your information and everything at butterroot.com. And they can just reach out to you, right, Tiffany, if they want to have you come to cook for them for their house or for parties, right? Do you do most of that? Okay, great. So she's
Thanks
available
for having
that.
Me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. All right. Well, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.